What's going on, guys? Kevin or the Sports Geek here, and in this video, I'm going to take a look at my Sports Geek Pro model over at FantasyLabs for NFL Week 5, and I'm going to take a look at the tight end position this week. All right, so the first tight end I'm going to take a look at is going to be Zach Ertz for the Eagles, 3,500 this week at DraftKings. He's going up against Detroit, and if you check the opponent plus minus, you can see Detroit sitting at 5.1, easily the worst in the FantasyLabs model. The next highest is 3.8, and the average looks to be around 2 or maybe high 1s. So they're a very awful defense against tight ends, to say the least. They've given up 6 touchdowns over 4 games to tight ends, and now they're facing an Eagles team with a pretty high pretty high total overall, 46 points. The Eagles are expected to score around 24 points, and they're a team that likes to use their tight ends quite a bit. Zach Ertz is coming off an injury, so his price has actually dropped since his injury. I think it went down. Yeah, so it went 43 to 41, 39, and now we're sitting at 35, even though he seems to be healthy. So I think that's a great price. Obviously, ownership is going to be up there. Projected ownership 17 to 20. But if you look at his game logs over his last 5 games played, he scored 11 or more DraftKings points, including 3 games over 20 and 2 games over 27 DraftKings points. So just a great athlete all around, great tight end in a good offense, and they're expected to put up some points against a bad defense against tight ends. So I think everything sets up for a big game for Ertz, and I'll definitely be using him in probably around 20 to 25% of my lineups this week. Second tight end I want to talk about here is Gary Barnidge, 3,200. Cleveland is in New England, they're hosting New England. They're 10.5 point underdogs against Brady. And their implied team total is only 18 points. New England's not bad against tight ends. You can see the opponent plus minus is 1.4. But this is a guy who consistently gets a lot of targets and consistently catches balls that are thrown to him. If you check out his year-to-date DraftKings points, 12, 13, 7. He had 0 in week 1. But if you look at his last 2 games with the new quarterback there in Cleveland, 7 targets, 7 catches, 6 targets, 5 catches, over 50 yards in both games. No receiving touchdowns, which is why he hasn't gotten up closer to the 20 DraftKings points. But if he gets one of those for a touchdown, maybe puts up 50 yards and a touchdown, he's getting close to 20 DraftKings points. And he's only 3,200. I expect Cleveland to be trailing against New England in the second half, maybe by a couple touchdowns. So I expect Gary Barnidge to get quite a bit of opportunity to put up some DraftKings points, and I think that he should have a pretty good game on Sunday. And for his ownership, expected to be, right now it says 2 to 4. Maybe that might change. Maybe that goes up to 5 to 8. I still think he'll be under-owned. I think he's a really good play this week. So that's my second tight end option. And then the third tight end I want to talk about, Will Tye, 2,600 for the Giants. Donnell was hurt for the Giants on the Monday Night Football game, and it looks like he should be out with a concussion this week. He just got rocked against Minnesota. So Will Tye, everything looks like it will set up for him to be the only tight end, or at least the starting tight end, and get the majority of the snaps there in Green Bay. It's a primetime game, expected to be pretty high scoring. We've got a total set at 48 points. Eli Manning, I think, generally does pretty decent in primetime. We know that Aaron Rodgers is a big primetime player, so I expect this game to be a little bit of back and forth. Would probably bet the over on the game. I think it's gonna be high scoring. Eli likes to use his tight ends. Usually there's 2 of them to throw to. If you see his targets these past games, I think some of these games Donnell might have been out, but you can still see that he had 7, 8, 5, 6 targets. A lot of targets for Tye, and he seems to catch a lot of passes thrown his way as well. He's just a good tight end, good athlete. Good big red zone targets. He's got a couple touchdowns in there. So I think he could put up a big game. Wouldn't want to have too much exposure to him, maybe 10% exposure to him, or maybe a little less than that, depending on how many lineups you're throwing in. But I do think he's a good GPP this week at close to the minimum at 2,600. And then the last tight end I wanted to talk about was Zach Miller again this week, 3,600. I think he'll be pretty popular just because the last couple weeks he's done pretty well. But Kevin White is out for Chicago now, and that makes Miller probably the number 2 target behind Alshon Jeffrey for the Bears. They're in Indianapolis. Indianapolis isn't great against tight ends, as you can see here, plus 3.5. The Bears are expected to score around 21 points. And if you look at Miller's game log here, 27 and 12 DraftKings points his last 2 games. I'm not really sure who's going to be playing quarterback this week for Chicago. It could be Cutler, it could be Hoyer. But either way, I think Zach Miller is still going to produce. He's got a good matchup. He hasn't risen too much in price. Usually I would expect him after a couple big games like that to maybe go up closer to 4,000. So I think 3,600 is a great price for him. Ownership shouldn't be too high with some other good options on the board. So I think Zach Miller is a solid play. I'd maybe have roughly maybe 15%, maybe 10 to 15% exposure to him. All right, guys. So that's it for my Sports Geek tight end review for week 5. If you guys enjoyed this video, make sure you click that thumbs up or like button. And if you don't have an account for FantasyLabs, highly recommend you sign up. You can get access to my Sports Geek Pro model when you sign up for an account and all the other pro models on FantasyLabs. So good luck this week, guys. Hope you guys make some money. Cheers.